everyone, and welcome to Wild Moments brought to you by explore.org. It's me, and we have Ben in the house. How's it going, Ben?
Hello, Trish. Hello, everybody. Lovely to be back. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I am also very well. So I was sick over the last 10 days, and I'm much better now. So I'm happy, but quite still a little mucusy. I'll stop there.
Jolly.
But my voice is starting to
Go on.
return. Speaking of mucus, we will be discussing. We have some cool clips to go through, and one of them has to do with a friendly snake that we have close, or for one of the cameras that seems to be a resident. And I thought about saliva, thought about mucus, thought about saliva, and then thought about venom. So just a little window into my strange mind. But welcome,
Worrying, but
everyone.
tenuous.
Sorry, say that again, Ben.
I just say worrying and tenuous, but it works.
Yeah, it does, and it's helpful when you have to present things. Anyway, welcome. Remember that we're live and interactive, so please send through questions and comments so that Ben and I can answer any of the questions that you may have. And if this is the first time that you're joining us for Wild Moments, or if you're just new to the Africam community, please go ahead and send us a hello as well. We love to welcome newcomers. And we go through different clips. We have some super cool clips today, and we get to discuss a whole lot of interesting behavior or other related topics such as mucus, saliva, and venom. Whatever you like. I don't even have any hello. Oh, there we go. Kirsten's on it. Zygote, you say hi, Ben and Trish. Namaste, namaste to you too, Zygote. Bridget McKenney says hi, Trishana and Ben. Oh, do you have a new nickname, Ben?
I'm not sure. Now I think about it, Taylor did suggest one last a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember what it was now. Has someone used my alter ego name, my pseudonym?
Could it have been Ben Bat?
It was Bat. Yes, Ben and Taylor. We were Bat.
Oh, you were. Oh, that
So
makes
thank you.
sense.
Good
Yeah,
knowledge.
Bat.
Yes.
Nice. Well done, Bridget.
Well remembered.
June
I
Jones,
forgot. Better than
and now
Tab,
I
I
know.
suppose.
Yeah, it is better than Tab. Tab doesn't have a very. It just reminds me of betting.
Or
Anyway,
sugar-free drinks.
exactly. Or sugar free. Does Tab even exist anymore? It was a huge
I
thing in
don't
the
know. I think it's
90s.
an American thing. I don't think it ever came over here. I think in the UK we had it very briefly. We've really gone off topic already, haven't we? But I don't think I've ever seen it in South Africa.
Oh, it was huge. It was the drink of choice for people over the age of 40 in the 90s. Um, Anyway, June Jones says, love this channel. Welcome, June. I don't think I've heard your name before. So if you're a newcomer, hi. And I hope that you stick around. We're really cool. Mr. H, UAE, you say, today I have fruit juice. Good on ya. How about you, Ben?
I'm ashamed because I did this when I was on 2 weeks ago as well, but I'm monstering, I'm afraid. But it's sugar-free, zero sugar. I don't know if we're allowed to even show that. That's too much marketing. But yeah, terrible stuff for you. But tasty, and I've got a busy afternoon, so.
There we go. A window into Ben's mind, everyone. Bowl of kittens. You say hello to Ben and Trish, the moderator, Kathy, and everyone. You haven't got a drink, and the show is starting. No. We'll give you a couple seconds to go get yourself something to drink. Amber Co, you say waving hello with a hot coffee. It's 25 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Ooh, that's chilly. And you're ready for a fun and informative show. Well, we are ready too. And then Kirsten wanted to just add, sorry, let me just mute that. Kirsten would like to add that she loved Tab. So it was definitely a thing, everyone. Karu says, hi Trishala and Ben, you have milk and a banana today. How very nutritious. And dear NC, you say, hello Ben and Trish. Thank you for being here. You're ready for coffee. Nice. Well, as you all know, we don't get to see the clips. It is revealed to us right here during Wild Moments. So all our comments are genuine. So let's go ahead and see. This is a super interesting one, especially for me. It's not anything I've managed to see in person. So another reason that we really enjoy the cameras, we get to see some interesting behavior, and this is definitely one of them. So let's head over to Hyena Pan and have a look at what's going on. Well, we see a couple of the pan's namesakes skulking in the distance, or just behind these elephants. Ooh, there's a tiny little calf in there too. So if you're wondering what those eyes in the darkness were, those were two hyenas.
The defensive way, that little one right in between Mum's legs, just right under the belly. Safest place in the world, I would think. Oh. Right, you can actually see that those temporal glands beginning to stream. You see how dark it is there at the opening and with the stress.
I always think it's so dicey when cows go after predators and they have young calves, because it kind of leaves the young calf open for those few seconds, and you know that sometimes that's all it takes.
I suppose
But at
these
the same
hyenas
time,
really don't seem too phased, do they? They don't even look like particularly old hyenas, particularly the one on the right. It looks pretty young, very bold,
yeah.
considering.
So Kirsten's told us that the hyenas had actually managed to catch a calf a couple weeks ago. It didn't happen on the camera, but in the same area right here at Hyena Pan. So it happened off camera, but they managed to catch an elephant calf. So this interaction that we're seeing is possibly one that both species have encountered before. Now, mostly when I've seen elephants and hyenas interacting, not that hyenas specialize in hunting elephants in any of the reserves I've worked in, but when I do see that interaction, I mean, hyenas, oh, there we go. Hyenas will give a go to anything that they potentially see, any opportunity. And elephants will always react strongly to them, regardless of whether there was, or it at least appears to me, regardless of whether there was a history of hyenas actually being able to successfully hunt the elephant calves. And if I was looking at this independently of the information of knowing that they had previously caught a calf, I would think that this is pretty normal behavior. Now that we know that the hyenas are actually and have been successful in hunting calves in that area, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I agree. As you said, I've also never seen hyenas actively hunt elephant in my time, but certainly an elephant's reaction to a predator, whether it's a cheetah, a hyena, a lion, a leopard, is normally exactly that. Its number one priority is to protect the youngster, certainly, but I've also read that it's happened. I've seen lion and elephant interaction on oh, can't speak many times. I'll just stick with that. But I would say my first thought when I saw that was how bold and how unbothered the hyenas were. But if I think
Mm.
back, think a couple of hyenas harassing a pride of lions on a kill, and they generally don't go far away. They are pretty tenacious, and I guess they feel that they've got the agility to avoid the elephant if it decides to make a big song and dance about it. And perhaps that's what he's trying to do: create pandemonium and the separation. And if they did take one recently, it's been so dry up there at Hyena Pan, watching the cameras over the last few weeks, that it doesn't surprise me that maybe a youngster has got separated or left behind or been tired,
Mm.
having to traverse big distances between feeding grounds and waterholes. So I'm not surprised the females are on high alert, certainly.
Yeah, and just elephant behavior in general can change so much when resources are poor. They can suddenly become very, very grumpy and react badly to vehicles, even though other times of the year they might be just fine. So that combined with the threat of predators, um, lack of resources, you've got youngsters. It's a recipe for disaster for the elephants, essentially. So I
But
was
that was a very
reading,
young calf as well. Sorry, Trish, go on.
yes, yeah. So I was reading recently about this exact thing in Hwangwe National Park in Zimbabwe. Then they had so these researchers had observed four instances in which hyenas had taken down elephant calves. Mind you, one of them was 5 years old. One of the elephants that they managed to take down was 5 years old, which is really, really, really impressive. But some of the patterns that they noticed was that, and perhaps this is why this was not very successful, but we didn't see the other situation. So maybe anyway, what they noticed is that it needed, in order to take down an elephant calf, the clan needed to be between 7 and 10 members at least at that time, actively involved in the hunt, and that they would separate the calf from the mum exactly as you described, by causing a little bit of a pandemonium, causing chaos, so that somebody trips, somebody looks away, somebody uh, tries to chase and leaves the calf for those few seconds. And that's how they managed to catch them. But I was surprised at the frequency of it happening at that national park. So then I delved a little bit deeper and found that they have an incredibly high density of elephants for that size national park. And hyenas, well, we know that generally, not just hyenas, but most predators will go for those prey items that are most readily available, which tends to be the one that's most numerous. So all these factors coming together, I thought were really interesting because it's not anything I've ever encountered in my guiding career.
Yeah, very interesting. It just shows, I mean, they're often seen in a very negative light, hyenas, but they are such incredible creatures. Their intelligence levels often underestimated, and I have no doubt that they can strategize a way, say, to separate and distract, and they are the ultimate opportunist. Opportunist. Really having difficulty with things beginning with op, it seems. Yeah,
The
so I'm not
monster.
surprised, but not something I've ever come across with none of the hyenas that I've ever worked with or been around. Very, very rarely have I seen them actively hunting. I think with as I'm sure you would agree, in the areas we tend to be, the high population density of other predators, of lion and leopard,
Mhm.
the hyenas have pretty much just very much assumed the role of scavenger, and whilst quite capable of hunting, we very rarely see it. I mean, I can't think of a time where I've ever actually followed a hyena or spent time with a hyena that was opposed to trying to get a cheap meal from somewhere.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to very much, if you think of ourselves in a situation, we're very, especially a survival situation, you're going to do what's easiest for that environment. So at this time, if it's easiest for hyenas to get a meal from another predator, then that's what they're going to do. But just like it might be easiest for you to steal from another human at a, apocalypse type crisis, doesn't mean you're incapable of cooking your own food. So it's just something to keep in mind. They definitely are. They definitely are super intelligent, and I do love them. I did manage to see them hunt twice. Now that says a lot considering the amount of time I've spent with hyenas. I've seen it twice and only once successfully. Once a diker, and the other time was just running through a herd of impalas, and they managed to get one.
Sure.
Actually, they didn't get it, but I saw them hunting. Oh, Kirst, you say they managed to separate the calf from the mother. Ooh, how do we know how that ended? Because it doesn't sound good. But that being said, we know that elephants will really just leave behind a calf. So even if it did get separated, it's it's likely that the mother came back.
Mm.
Ah, not this time, the previous time, the one that they got. So I guess that's it. Separating the mother from the calf is really the point in which you can say that this is going to go the hyena's way or not. Once it's separated, and as Ben pointed out as well, that safety position of being right underneath the mum is the best place you could be, because nobody else in the herd, regardless of how altruistic we may think the herd is, there's no safer place to be than between your mother's legs, because otherwise everyone else is still going to be looking out for themselves. That was an interesting one. How about we now move on to mucus, saliva, and venom? Uh, Gosh, and I need to cough. Excuse me. That was just a live demonstration for everyone. Okay, let's go back to Hyena Pan, where there is a resident black mamba. And I say very cheerily because I think it's very cute. That is cute. I mean, I'd never
That
go
is a
near it,
beautiful
but it's cute.
thing. It's actually really nice to see it in the infrared. I've never really noticed that sort of striping that you can kind of see there
Exactly.
under the camera. That's really interesting.
We were so Kirst sometimes will send me screenshots if she's not sure about something, just to get my opinion, and that threw me off. The patterning that's so striking in infrared, but then the scales on the scale pattern on the head definitely confirmed that it was a black mamba.
No, definitely.
Now I've known them to be mostly diurnal. So I wonder if this one is just kind of if this is its usual sleeping spot, or it's looking for a sleeping spot.
Definitely investigating something. Looked quite comfy up on the tree, whether he've just been basking there late afternoon, enjoying the last.
Mm.
I'm not sure what time this was filmed after dark.
Kes says it was about 1 a.m.
Oh wow, so middle of the night. But very deliberate movements, definitely
Hmm.
tasting the air for something.
I wonder if it's a young mamba. Oh,
Hmm,
ooh. Did
that's
you
as
feel
close
a
as you
little
want to be.
tinglish there? Oh, that was really cool.
Beautiful look.
Oh, that
Spectacular.
was lovely. That was really lovely. Um, so thinking of mucus, saliva, and venom, what I wanted to remind you all of is it's something that I love about venom is that it's just modified saliva. And what I love about talking about this or bringing this point up is that in in biology and across different mammals, you can only look at specific groups, but across different mammals or across different reptiles, what tends to happen is, I'll call it nature, but the process of natural selection and all of that takes things that are already exist and modify them. Very rarely does something just come out of nothing. For that to happen, there'd have to be a very perfect mutation for that to happen. So just imagine it's just modified saliva sitting in those what were once salivary glands and have been modified to be venom glands. And interestingly, all venomous squamata, so lizards and snakes, all originated from a single venomous ancestor about 170 million years ago, and then radiated into this great, enormous group of toxins that we have that animals are literally producing inside of their bodies, which I think is very cool. That is the end of my
Amazing
spiel.
stuff. Amazing stuff. Yeah, I actually had a snake run in a couple of days ago. Not a bad one, although it took me by surprise. Just at one of the estates in and around Hoodspray. Went out to do a little bit of birding, where I have to say I'm very proud to. We got finfoot and half-collared kingfisher and some other lovely little birds along the Blyder River. And whilst we were there, some monkeys were shouting very, very loudly, but it was a different call. It wasn't a predator call. So I went to go and investigate, expecting to find a snake. I'm checking up in the trees, looking for it, looking for any evidence on the ground. Couldn't see anything. Looking, the monkeys are looking out towards the road. And then looked down because I was next to the fence line, and just lying on the other side of the fence was a 3 meter python that looked like it had swallowed a planet, for want of a better word. It was enormous. It bulging. I'm not even joking. I can't even. I'd have to come back to show you how thick this thing was. It was just snake, and then this massive lump in there. But when you're looking for a snake, you're looking for something small, and it's quite shameful that I
Yeah.
didn't see the 3 meter python that was lying on the floor, just the other side of the fence line. He was kind of up against the post. But yeah, eventually it moved off into the bushes. But that must have been at least a dacre that it swallowed last night. I'll send you the pics, Trish.
What?
It was absolutely enormous.
Oh, I would love to see that. Please do send me a picture. I would love to see that. You said that the monk making a different kind of alarm call. What type? I'm not just being
Yeah,
funny and wanting you to tell me. I actually want
you
to
want me to?
know.
Well, I'm trying to remember because the classic that you would get for a lion or a leopard, it was different. It was more like a I can't do it, but
Oh,
it was quicker and more staccato in little bursts as opposed to that repetitive squawky noise
yeah.
that they make. But it's something that we've heard many times before. This was different, and they are known for having different alarm calls. So I assumed snake because there's no predators in the area that I was in, but it was markedly different from the standard lion leopard call, certainly.
Hmm, interesting. It's one of those things where you read about it, but I've never heard it. I've always ever. I mean, in the we work in, it's so predator dense that that's what we hear the most is the normal squawking. So I was just interested. It almost sounded, if your
Yes,
demonstration was correct, it sounded like the snake call was coming almost from the front of their mouth, whereas the one we're used to and with the predator comes kind of like from further back.
possibly. Yeah, it was a slightly different pitch. I can't remember it to demonstrate it exactly, but it was much faster. It was a doo 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 doo, as opposed to that sort of rhythmical squawky noise. Whether it came from the front or the back of their mouths is possibly giving me too much credit as to my Velvet Monkey impressions. But I was
JJ would
expecting
like to
to
know.
find a mamba or a boomslang or something. So that was really cool. So just going on to your mucus conversation today, of course, the python doesn't have any venom, being the constrictor, but still just goes to show a pretty fearsome hunter when it needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to see those pictures. It's sometimes amazing what you look at a snake or you look at a constrictor like a python, and you think there's no way, logically looking at the snake, it could be consuming this entire duiker or this entire impala. And lo, it happens.
It could even have been a young
So
impala. I'm not even sure Jacob's big enough, to be honest. It was enormous.
I must see it. JJ wanted to know, would a lodge remove a black mamba if its territory is too close to humans. My instinct says no, because black mambas, even though they are very dangerous, are not particularly aggressive. Their first response would be to get away from you than to attack. But what do you think, Ben? You've definitely have more experience with more lodges.
Generally speaking, I would agree. I think it will. Sorry for the low-flying helicopter. Um, that's broken my train of thought. No, I think they would be left. Obviously, if one took up residence in a room, then it would have been removed. But if it just happened to be around the lodge, I completely agree with you. It's generally considered that the mamba is a terrifying thing and it's highly aggressive and all the other things that we hear. But it is a shy and reserved snake. All these stories of people being chased by mambas and mambas outrunning people and things, I think, is a little bit of myth rather than anything else. I actually did some checking, and I think over the last few years in South Africa, or Southern Africa at least, there's been like 5 recorded bites per year or something
Hmm.
of mambas within the whole country. It is not and considering how numerous they are, it is not an uncommon snake, particularly in certain regions here. So I think generally speaking, I would leave it be personally, but yeah, if it was taken up residence in a guest room, then yes, it would need to be removed. But the second you remove it, as you well know, you're just opening up territory for another one to move in. And from my
Hmm.
experience, these snakes have pretty good homing devices as well. I mean, it's happened quite a few times that snakes have been removed, a few kilometers up the road, and a few days later they're back again. Whether it's the same one or not, I don't know, but I have heard of that happening quite a few times where they just as if to say, well, why have you done that? I'm now going to make my way home. Thank you for the exercise.
Yeah, you just got me a taxi elsewhere, and I'm gonna go back home.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so Kelly has just sent me the photo.
Ah, yeah, it's a big snake.
um, wow, it's gonna look awful if I put this to the camera. So maybe Kirst can show you all some other time. But it is impressive. My goodness. And then Karu, you'd like to know, hmm, do all snakes sleep in trees? Uh, no, all snakes don't sleep in trees. Lots of snakes like to. Basically, snakes are going to sleep where it's safe. And that can be in some bushes, that can be in the ground, in a hole, that can be in a tree. And it also depends on where they generally, if they are generally arboreal, they're going to be more likely to be in a tree. Um, Okay, we have a couple minutes left, literally. So let's head over to our next clip. Let's go over to Rosie's pan. I haven't seen this leopard and her injury, but Ben has, so maybe you can let us know if it's doing better or worse, Ben.
Yeah, I saw this a couple of weeks ago, and it looked really nasty. So I'm intrigued to see how she's going.
Ooh, I didn't expect that. I thought that she would be even more cautious given her injury.
Yeah,
I
I'll
thought
say
she
when I
would
saw it
stalk.
2 weeks ago, I mean, it was quite horrific. It was literally just dangling. It certainly looked broken, like a broken bone just hanging loose. She was putting no weight on it, so I certainly didn't. Yeah, exactly like
Oof.
that.
Oh,
So
you
I
can.
would
It's
say
still.
that is not healed. Not that I don't think it's going to heal, unfortunately. But she wasn't putting any weight on it when we saw it before. So whether or maybe you can tell me, Trish, how long it would take for bones to fuse back together again in a perfect scenario.
Oof.
Not that it would ever be ideal, but I imagine it takes quite some time. But she does look a little bit skinny, and that is going to make life very, very difficult
Oof.
for her. Poor thing.
And if you also look at the position, like the shape of her back, she's concentrating so
Mm.
heavily. If you just look at how she's rounding her spine as she walks, and all of that is it. it doesn't seem like it's going to come together well for her. The strain that she's putting her, that the body is going under, the compensation that's happening on the other limbs, the spine, and then it'll take about 6 to 8 weeks for bones to, in a perfect scenario, for bones to knit back up. But time and time again,
Was
wild animals have shown us how resilient they can be and how crazily they can in circumstances where you think it could never be.
But you would think that for bones to knit, I mean, obviously we would splint them or plaster them and keep them still. If she's constantly having to move around, I don't know how the bone would actually be able to knit back together again if it's constantly moving. It would need to be
Yeah.
locked, I would have thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's we have no idea what type of break it is, if there's bits of bone that have kind of like chipped off and are moving in that area. It's just going to be awful. And we've lost Ben, but we see Kelly.
She was in the background briefly. Yeah, sorry, my neighbours just came home and the door was open and the dogs were very excited to see her.
No worries. So Kirst, I've managed to send the picture to Kirst, and Kirst can now show you all the python that Ben was talking about. Oh my goodness.
There you go. That is one fat python.
Look
So yeah,
at the
it was hard
size.
up against the fence, and we were on the other side of the fence. So I never saw it. Was looking for something up in a tree, and yeah, looked down to find that.
You are so right. This is huge. Absolutely huge. And how did it manage to move away with some kind of speed?
No, we obviously reported it to the reserve management, who said they'd actually found it during the night. It was up against the fence, so they turned off the electric fence, and then they went back again in the morning when we reported that it was still there. They got an expert out from the reptile place. They measured it, made sure it hadn't been had any damage done to it by the fence, and then I think they said it took some time, but it very, very slowly slithered across the road back into the bushes. And actually spoke to someone about it today, and this was about 3 days ago, and it's still in exactly the same place, happily digesting uh, whatever
Wow.
that it managed to cram down its body.
Wow. I mean, look at the size
The
of
good
the
thing was
head
it didn't
compared to.
regurgitate the food under the stress, because obviously
Yes.
that is a danger, and that could have been very difficult to regurgitate as well. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that it was all done relaxedly and ethically. Relaxedly, what sort of word is that? But there was no stress put on the steak, and it didn't cause it to regurgitate, thankfully.
That was an epic photo, Ben. Thank you very much for sharing it. And thank you, Kelly, for sharing it. One last thing that I wanted to, it was just a random thought. I don't know the answer to it. I'll have to say goodbye very soon. Bridget McKinney, you say, wow, incredible. That was a crazy photo. And what an interesting thing to stumble upon, Ben. So the thought I had was that the majority of snake venoms contain protease, which helps to break down proteins, and meat is protein, right? So it actually assists in not only paralyzing your prey, but also digestively it helps. And I wonder if with pythons, since they don't have any venom, whether that means that they have a slowed digestion as well, because they're not injecting venom
No,
into their prey.
higher pH
Just
level perhaps than other snakes would make sense in the gastric juices there. I don't know. Something interesting to have a look into.
and I love to end on an interesting thought. Thank you so much for joining us, Ben. It's time to say goodbye. You are invaluable, and I love to spend time with you. Please do come again. And thank you all for your questions and your comments. Please do join us again next week. And yeah, let's see what crazy clips we can come up with for the following week. Thanks, everyone,
Thanks
and bye
very
for
much,
now.
everybody. Thanks, Trish. Cheers.
Bye.